What's Gucci with it? Veterans, military. Today we're going to talk about why majority of you will not see the VA disability rating in which you're trying to fight for. Let's jump into it. So first of all, we got military and we got veterans. It started when you was in the military, active duty, serving, regardless of your branch, Army, Marine Corps, Navy. You got to this, or you got to the mindset of not going to medical, not going to sick call, not getting stuff documented. Why? Why is this? What does this spawn from? Your position, leadership, progression in the military. Maybe you have a future profession you want to get into. However, you don't want to be labeled as that guy, light duty warrior, light duty commando, limb do motherfucking ninja, whatever the case may be. And that continues with you once you separate from the military. Now you're a veteran. Now what? You want to get VA disability rating. Obviously, all veterans aspire to get that 100% permanent total. However, not every veteran is going to get it. Why? Due to a lack of medical evidence, due to a lack of continuity of care, due to a lack of complaints. There's a lot of factors that goes into, first, having the medical evidence needed in order to submit to the VA for a disability claim. But then, how do you plan on service connecting it? Direct service, service aggravation, secondary VA disability, presumptive condition. What's the case? Even with presumptive conditions, PACT Act, veterans are not even doing the bare minimum. If they meet the criteria, you deployed or you're stationed in one of the areas that was deemed on the list. The exposed areas, Afghanistan, Iraq, Djibouti, the list goes on. Veterans at least need a current day diagnosis, continuity of care. There's so many claims without none of it. And then they're waiting 10 plus months, year and a half. I've seen some cases at 18 months still pending, and the rest of them get denied. Why? You don't have a diagnosis. Yeah, you deployed to this area. You may have allergic rhinitis. You might have chronic sinusitis. You may even have sleep apnea. But if you don't have a diagnosis, how do you expect to get any benefits? Any symptomology? You're not going to get any, you can still get service connected for some things, but you're not going to get any benefits. The list goes on. But the main thing is veterans and military needs to get into medical. Whether it's at the VA, you're still active duty, definitely I implore you, build medical evidence throughout the years. Don't wait until the very last minute, because then when it comes to that, you may not get a diagnosis because you've waited 4 years, 5 years, 10, 15 years to barely start seeking medical treatment for migraines. Barely start for migraines, any leg issues, knee issues. If your knee's been fucked for the last 20 years and you're barely going in now, why? Why is that? That makes no sense. Because the military, I know it's instilled in boot camp, but it's reinforced throughout the years not to go into medical, not to seek treatment for anything that is hurting you, anything that's giving you issues. Yeah, I get it. But whenever you separate or whenever you process it, once you separate, you become a veteran, you can't blame the VA for not giving you benefits for the work that you didn't do up until you hit submit. Let's run down a scenario. Hey, I got a buddy. He's service connected at 40%. He got a couple of zeros. He has a lot of zeros, but the only thing that's mainly keeping him at 40 is his back. He got 40% for his back. Cool. He hit me up. He's like, "What's up, Debo? What's up, dog? I see you got a little YouTube channel." I'm like, "Yeah, dog. What's up, dog? What's Gucci with it?" He's like, "Hey, I'm trying to get an increase to my overall VA disability rating." I'm like, "Okay, bet. Have you been going to medical?" "Nah, dog. Nah. I'm just trying to get the benefits, baby. The benefits." I'm like, "Bro, how do you expect the VA to just give you compensation, money, dollars, when you haven't been into the doctor since what? 2017? Okay, cool. Yeah, that issue might have gotten worse, but there's definitely nothing showing that it has gotten worse or at least maintained itself. You have 40% for your back. Not a lot of veterans get 20%, higher than 20% for their back. And you're telling me you want to go back into the VA claims process, try to put in a couple other things, and then he was only going through the VA. I'm surprised they didn't catch it, or he hasn't gotten a letter proposing a reduction. But, hey, maybe that disability is considered static because it was since 2017, almost 8 years ago. So he's protected service. So his service connection is protected. He still has another 14, 15 years until the rating will be protected. But especially, but until then, if he wants to get back to the claims process, I'm like, hey, you have to go on a medical. You got to get into a doctor. You just can't put in a claim thinking that the VA is going to help you out, because, yeah, they may service connect you for a couple of other things at 0%, but they're going to absolutely look at that low back strain that you have 40% with a couple of things, whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, well, I guess it's gotten better, because we haven't seen you in the last 7 years, 7 years. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? You haven't been coming to us. And in that situation, if you got medical evidence from a private care provider, some veterans it might apply to. It didn't apply to him. I was like, okay, well, do you got private care? He said, no. Well, you can't do that. You can do whatever you want, but I'm recommending that you get your ass into medical first, possibly start an intent to file, build some medical evidence to maintain you at your 40%, as well as for anything else you plan on submitting for. You want to make sure that you have medical evidence for that as well. Bare minimum diagnosis. Depending on what you plan on filing, direct or secondary, look through your service treatment record, pull those fucking documents, diagnosis, complaints related to your military service, pair it up with a current diagnosis and some treatment, fucking build it. You got a whole year to hit submit on an intent to file. It's not a rush to submit claims. Now, it may be a rush to get certain claims service connected, such as, sleep apnea, mental health, tinnitus, disabilities that the VA has proposed changes to the rating and the criteria. Yeah, it may be a rush for that. However, when it comes to just you want to get service connected for something, have a strong foundation. Have all your documents organized. Have a personal statement. You don't have to, but you're leaving it up to the VA to determine your VA claim solely based on the evidence that you provide them. If you provide them with medical evidence that has gray area information, they're going to plug that information in themselves. It's like, okay, well, you don't need a 40% for your back, because between 2017 and 2024, you haven't been in a medical. You didn't provide us with a personal statement detailing if you have private medical provider, what you've been doing to satisfy that low, that lumbosacral strain that you've been dealing with since 2017. What the fuck? And, the same goes with current, veterans they've been out for a couple of years. They're trying to build secondary disabilities, and they want to fucking, tack on sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. Cool. But you only figured it out like 2 weeks ago. That's 50%. Cool. Okay. You figured out that the VA likes to see that connection, or they service connect OSA sleep apnea secondary to PTSD at a higher rate than just a veteran submitting it direct service. Cool, you see all of that. However, you haven't been complaining about any respiratory issues since you've been service connected for PTSD, let alone since you've been separated from the motherfucking military. And this all comes, 2 weeks? Cool, you figured it out. January 1st, you go in, you get a sleep apnea test. Cool, and then you just hit submit on a secondary claim. Then you're going to be waiting a couple of months. The VA may even call you in for a CMP exam. In most cases, they don't. Depends on your medical evidence. But if you haven't complained about it up until the point where you got a sleep study, you got diagnosed, and now you got a CPAP machine, you didn't do any research, there's a high likelihood the VA is going to deny that claim after making you wait a couple of months, 9-10 months. They may or may not call you into a compensation and pension exam. If they do, so okay, cool. Well, veteran was talking about this, and that. None of it made sense. Their medical evidence didn't make sense. Why sleep apnea should be secondary to PTSD. So we're going to deny it due to lack of causation, because they haven't been complaining about it. It just seems like they just went out, got a diagnosis and treatment for sleep apnea without ever complaining about it, establishing that link between their already service-connected disability and the secondary. Cool. But hey, you like this type of content? Let your boy know. This fucking Debo out.